Yeah, so there's a lot of things that you could be doing tonight. If you're listening or watching this podcast, thank you. We got the man hopping on the show, Josiah Gray, MLB pitcher. And dude, you could have been doing a lot of stuff tonight. I know you're a big U fan, and at the time of this recording, season whatever, I think it's 3 just came out, right?
Season 3, yeah. Season 3. I honestly haven't dipped into it at all yet, but I hear good things. It's like Ozark. Stop whatever you're doing. You make sure you watch it. I haven't done that yet, but I will.
Well, I'm stoked that you haven't watched it yet because you got something to look forward to after we do this. And I was cracking up because I saw there was a headline recently that said this Netflix thriller took over the viewing ratings or whatever for Squid Game, and it was you. I was like, dude, out of all shows.
Crazy. Yeah, Squid Game, I mean, I'm doing pretty well on that. Just tacking on an episode every now and then. But, you's been at the top of the list for the past, 3 years?
Yeah, just one of those shows where it's like, it's bad, but also at the same time, you just continue to watch it and you're like, I don't know where this is going, or like that. There's no way that just happened. Like, dude, this is so unrealistic. And then you're like, how is this?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope I'm not spoiling too much for anybody out there. But yeah, no, there's something about that show that just keeps you watching it.
Exactly. Yeah, it keeps you coming back every night, and you got to finish it as soon as you can so you can talk about it with your friends and be like, oh, why'd that happen? And just theorize, just like any other good show makes you do.
Yeah. All right, yeah. So as much as we both love you and other Netflix shows, I definitely, like I was saying before the recording, definitely want to have you on because you're a tri-state area dude, just like myself and so many of the listeners of this show and viewers. And you were born in New Rochelle, and I would say out of a lot of the big league players, especially recently, you have skyrocketed from the minors into the big leagues. It's just been so inspirational and incredible. And your story just about how you got to that point is definitely got to motivate a lot of people. I obviously want to talk about that as much as possible, and then we'll go into some fun stuff. But dude, just take us back to when it all started. I mean, I know I mentioned that you're from New Rochelle, but yeah, like when did you fall in love with baseball?
Honestly, when I was a kid, I would say around 4 or 5, we would always go in the backyard and I would get hit ground balls. I would throw the ball around my brothers, and, that's all I wanted to do. There was really nothing else, like my middle brother, he played football for a little bit. The oldest brother played basketball along with baseball, but baseball was just what I wanted to do. So when I was 4 or 5, that's kind of when I fell in love with the game, and then started to play Little League and things like that. And, Little League, I want to say it was only spring, but, in the summer and the fall, you can still go out in the yard and play wiffle ball, have fun with it. And then once travel ball started, that's when you started playing spring, summer, and fall, kind of training in the winter as well. And that's when it went from, just a spring thing to basically just a lifestyle. And there was like no moment that I fell out of love with the game. I just enjoyed practicing, enjoyed playing, enjoyed everything about it. And, that's kind of brought me to the moment I am today. I just love to play baseball. It's, some guys like shun, like, oh, you're going to have a hobby outside of baseball. And I'm sure I do. Like, there are other things I enjoy, but, baseball is what I wake up. It's what I, breathe. I just breathe baseball.
What's really cool about that is that you mentioned how there are certain seasons where you'd be playing baseball, and then like the off seasons or whatever, you're like wiffle ball or playing baseball anytime that you could. And a lot of guys who I know who had played in the big leagues, either currently or past, like guys like David D. Jesus, Todd Frazier, both Jersey guys, they said, and they've told me before, that there's just this sense of pride about being from the tri-state area, in your case, New York, because it's like,
Absolutely.
you can't play baseball all year round outside, like people from Florida, Arizona, California.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that like sense of pride that tri-state area kids have playing baseball. So that's so cool that you decided to stay with baseball, even though obviously, like you said, you enjoyed basketball, but you really did take a liking to baseball. So that's just so awesome to hear. And I'm sure that now when you're in the big leagues and you see a clubhouse filled with people from all different parts of the country, and you could be like, yo, I'm from New York. That's cool.
No, yeah, you definitely take pride in it, just like the next man would, saying he's from Texas or California or anything like that. But yeah, it's unique because we can't play year round. Our high school seasons are cold majority of the season. Summers are great, falls are great, but that core time in the spring, when you're playing high school baseball, you're playing in 40-degree weather and you're just trying to tough it out, and then it goes to the season basically ends. But yeah,
Yeah.
I obviously take pride in it just because of the just how things are in the world of baseball. New York, there's not too many nationally known travel teams, or Perfect Game. The highly touted scouting service doesn't have any like major tournaments in New York. So it's all south, it's all out west, and just thinking about that stuff, you have to go out and have to sort of create your own lanes, because those avenues aren't as readily available, or they weren't as readily available as I was coming up through high school, and trying to make a name for myself. It was just, you play for the local travel team. You might go to a tournament here and there and get your butt whooped by a team from South Jersey, but
Yeah.
that was that was all you had, and you kind of just have to create your own lane.
So for you, at what point did you realize this could potentially turn into a career? Because I never talk about numbers. I honestly, like, I appreciate numbers. I think they're great. Like stats, like I think they're awesome. If you guys look at the back at Josiah Gray's baseball card, you're gonna see some really good ones. Your stats were awesome. So, like, at what point did you realize that you were handing out the butt whoopings and that this could potentially turn into a career for you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, the baseball card stuff always throws me off, because you collect cards as a kid and you're like, man, like obviously you dream of having one, but then actually having one, you're like, holy crap, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, my freshman year, I would say honestly my sophomore year summer, I went out to the Cape Cod League. After a good season at Lemoyne on the mound, not so good at shortstop. I was a two-way guy, but I had a good year on the mounds, and basically went out to the Cape. I'm facing Division One caliber guys, top three rounders, things like that, and I'm holding my own, and I'm like, man, I can actually like do this, and my velocity was starting to creep up, and striking hitters out. So it wasn't even there was sort of a adjustment period early on that summer, but once I got in a groove, things were sort of just flawless, more or less. And then just kind of experiencing that, and just rebounding and going out every day and getting these dudes out, Alec Baum, who else, first round guy, Griffin Conine, um, who else? I can't even remember off the top of my head, but those are some of the guys I was getting out, and I was like, man, like this is the proving ground. So basically, from that moment on, I knew that I was destined to be a pro for sure. And I went on to have a great junior year, get drafted by the Cincinnati Reds in the second round compensation picks, and that kind of supplanted baseball as my career.
I'm sure a lot of those guys remember you if they were facing you or you were striking them out. But there's a lot of great stuff that you just kind of grazed over, which a couple things about that. It just shows how humble you are and the humility that you have. It's just so impressive, especially for like younger dude. And also
Appreciate
too, dude, so you went to Lemoyne, a Division II school. That was where you really only had your only formal offer to go to college to play baseball.
it. Mm-hmm.
I love that so much. I know of Lemoyne just from being around this area, but just the fact that you went to D2 school and like just really proved that you have so much potential. And now it seems like in baseball, you have to be on a traveling team. You have to go to all these
Yep.
showcases and stuff like that. It's like, dude, like talent will be found. And you're the perfect example of that. And take us back to that too, because like I think a lot of people look at you as a role model when it comes to that, because like you didn't go to the Vanderbilt or the Duke or the Arizona State University. Like you went to Lemoyne, and that's not discrediting Lemoyne at all. But what I'm trying to say is that you created your own lane, which is, I'm stealing your words from before, but
Yeah. That's what we talked about. Obviously, I had dreams and aspirations to go to a Vanderbilt or LSU, but never came to fruition. And yeah, going to Lemoyne was awesome. My only formal offer, had some decent interests elsewhere, but nothing really um, I guess, materialized into an offer. And, I was lucky that I even went to Lemoyne. I had a buddy that essentially his high school coach referred me to Lemoyne's coach, Scott Cassidy, and basically came to see me play, saw video, things like that. And more or less, he liked what he saw. And, uh, he was shocked himself. He's like, man, you have no offers. And, he offered me a great scholarship. And it was kind of hard to turn down at that time because I had nothing else really I was working on, and I liked the school. It was smaller. Baseball program was awesome. Had things I wanted to study. Sort of just was a great fit, and I committed on my first visit. I think it was an unofficial visit. I committed that day, and basically just that was probably the biggest moment of my career to that date. I committed there and kind of went into my senior year as a committed Division II baseball player, and knew I was going to get a lot better there. But I had an opportunity to play college baseball, and that's what I wanted to do at the end of the day.
Yo, I always say one decision can change your entire life. Had you not decided to play at a division school like Lemoyne, we maybe not even be sitting here right now. So that's just incredible in itself. And another cool thing about that is that you went there, you were playing infield, and then it wasn't until the middle of your time there that you started pitching. Like, dude, the young Shohei Ohtani over here, like
Yeah.
you're mowing down guys. Like, were you on the mound being like, oh, this kind of easy. Why didn't I start this sooner? Like, what was that like for you? Just kind of making that switch and just kind of really being like you and just like developing as you and not worrying about like all the labels or the size of the school that you're at.
Yeah, the craziest thing about going to Lemoyne, I was recruited as a shortstop. The coach obviously knew I pitched, but in high school, I was a pretty good pitcher for the area. Got some accolades, things like that. But got to college, and he was like, "You're not going to start for us on the mound. You'll be a guy that comes out of the pen. Obviously, you can help the team when we need arms, but mainly you're coming in to back up at shortstop, back up at third, maybe even second if we need you a game here and there." And that was my job my freshman year. And um, it's funny because I actually hit a lot better than I pitched on the mound. I think I hit like 270 and, had some starts here and there at third. And, I held my own. So it was awesome. But on the mound, man, I had like an 8 ERA, something astronomical. And there's a moment that I'll never forget, more or less. My freshman year, we're playing a playoff game at Pace University. I'm on a stretch of probably 3 or 4 outings in a row that are really good, really solid. And the coach throws me into a tie game late in the game. It's a midweek game, so our weekend arms are sort of depleted. So throws me out there, and my first inning is great. I get 3 outs. I keep us in the ball game. My second inning, I go back out there. I give up the game-winning run, essentially. And I remember, yeah, as a 17, 18-year-old kid, that's obviously hard to take. And I remember after the game, I'm obviously upset in the dugout, and the coaches more or less come over to me and say, "Hey, man, like, wash it. You're going to be so good for us, for years to come. Like, just don't let that moment define you, more or less." And I certainly didn't. I kind of, that moment sat with me. And then that summer, I had a great summer. And like we talked about, the sophomore year kind of just skyrocketed. But yeah, that was one of many defining moments of my college career there. And it's always fun, reflect on it and just think about it and be like, man, they knew something.
Yeah, dude, I got the chills as you were saying that story, and isn't it wild how like a coach can either make or break you? So in this case, it definitely helped make you.
Absolutely.
And if you guys Google or YouTube any of Josiah's appearances, especially from college, like there's one I love it. Like you struck the dude out, you're closed, and then you just showed so much fire. Like, yo, if I'm a scout and I see that, I'm like, yo, sign this kid up. How do we get him into our organization? And it
Exactly.
is obviously that that happened with the Cincinnati Reds because they eventually drafted
Yep.
you. And on draft night, you get drafted by like Adam or announced by Adam Dunn. Like,
I'm
how cool
done.
was
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, that was awesome, because we were watching the draft, MLB Network, and I know they do the Manfred stops announcing the picks after I think the first round. So I was wondering, I was like, who's going to draft me, one, and two, like who's going to announce it, because they always have the special people that announce the draft, and I'm like, I don't know, we'll see. And for it to be Adam Dunn was pretty damn cool, because who hasn't watched Adam Dunn and seen the home runs he's hit? So that was one of the pretty awesome moments of that night.
That's right. So that was a 2018 MLB draft. The Cincinnati Reds take you. Adam Dunn picks you. And you said in an interview before, and I absolutely love this line, but you said that night you showed that you can make the impossible possible.
Yeah.
Fire me up.
Fire me up. Yeah, I don't even remember saying that, but
I tried doing as much research as possible, which I'm sure you probably could tell based off of the way that I started this talking about you.
there you go.
Which,
Mm-hmm.
but no, seriously though, there's so many layers to your story, and we'll get into Marcus Stroman and how he's big into height doesn't measure heart.
Yeah.
Your frame, your body frame, like you gained 30 pounds in college. Right now, you're listed at 6'1". That night, you just showed, and again, like you're just such an inspiration and motivation to so many people, because here you are, this tri-state area kid, goes to Lemoyne, a Division II school, just absolutely skyrockets, gets drafted by the Cincinnati Reds in the 2018 draft by, like you said, Adam Dunn. And
Yeah.
I've been there. I've been at draft night so many nights, and I'll tell you what, man, it is so cool sitting in that room because, like you said, there's so many former MLB players there, like Ken Griffey's, anybody and everybody.
Yes.
The fact that that's how your career started, and like you said, that night, you showed that you can make the impossible possible.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. Like, I'm glad you brought up that quote, because, just reflecting on it and thinking about it, it's sort of the unheralded. Sure, in my time in minor league baseball, I became a top prospect, things like that. But it's also like, if you peel it back and you think about years before that, I was just at Lemoyne College, 3,500 kids, just scrapping by, going to the field every day, getting extra work in when I needed and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely, that aspect of making the impossible possible is one of the, I guess, trademarks or things that you can think about in terms of my story. Because, if I was to follow the, I guess, prescribed path for a guy going to a Division II school, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I've said that time and time again. And it's like, sometimes people don't understand that, because they're like, yeah, but you still made it. But I'm like, no, you don't understand, because sure, a lot of guys go to these schools with aspirations to play pro ball, but I've seen it time and time again. It's hard to sort of wrap your mind around those being your last college years, and that was definitely my potential path. If I didn't, take off the way that I did, I wouldn't be, 24, about to be 24, in a major league clubhouse, things like that. If I was to take the prescribed path of a lot of other D2 baseball players, because, it's not so much the want, it's just, I worked for it. I obviously had a little bit of luck along the way. Who doesn't? And, I'm here to tell a story and sort of just elaborate on it.
No, and you bring up a great point too, is that you didn't want to go through that path or prescription that you're prescribed in, like, say, like a D2 school, where it's like there's 25 men on a roster. Not all of them are going to be like extremely dedicated and want to succeed. Like you're going to have a lot of guys on that roster who like look at it as just like anybody else would, like college, like go out and party and stuff like that, like being like a student athlete, having anything and everything that they want. But you're that dude who's not going to go out the night before a game because you want to make sure that every fifth day you go out there and give it your all.
Yeah.
And this goes for, I guess, any college, but in a situation where you easily just could go out and party and do whatever. But the fact that you took it so serious, and it's so awesome, dude. So awesome. Dude, I'm stoked. Like and like it's funny because like I see like a little bit of myself in you too, where it's like I went to Quinnipiac University, not a big school at all. It's a great communications program, but I grew up in a
Hmm.
time period where if you want to get into sports television, you have to go to like Syracuse or Fordham,
Yeah,
whatever. But when I got
Syracuse.
to
Yep.
Quinnipiac, yeah, right, yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
Hmm.
Lemoyne knows all about Syracuse. You guys
Yep.
beat them in the exhibition game and stormed the court, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
But I felt comfortable at Quinnipiac. Like I believed in
Hmm.
myself, and yeah, there are nights that I didn't go out and party as hard as others just because I was just so determined and I want to make use of the tools and everything that I had to get to that like sports media journey, be on television, do all this other stuff.
Oh yeah.
But again, I didn't go to Fordham. I didn't go to whatever, like, so I
Hmm.
think as long as like you have that character and you have that work ethic and drive, everything can work out perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that a lot of people who are listening to this, especially young kids, if they're looking to go to play sport or any sport, or if they're like working at a company and it's like not like Google or Facebook, like you can
Yeah.
get there, just set
Hmm.
that goal and you can reach it.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a
You got
doubt.
me going off.
I got you popping off. But no, yeah, you know, there were definitely times in school that, I had to go, and my days were structured so like I could go from class to practice to, the library to the gym after late night gym or late night, hitting in the cage. Obviously pitching, you can't really do a lot of things by yourself other than like mechanical stuff. But I was putting in the work over time and time again. Um, sure, I had my fun in college and things like that. But yeah, there were definitely a lot of times that I was going into the weight room at odd times of the day, finals week. Making sure I was getting some weight room work done, just to make sure I'm not too stressed out heading into that weekend for our games, things like that. And it damn sure paid off over time. And um, I'm kind of like I said, I'm probably gonna sub so much more, but like just reflecting on it and thinking about it and talking about it, it's definitely it makes you appreciate it, because there are certainly times when I could have just said, nah, I'd rather sleep. I'd rather, just hang out. But I wanted to always get that work in, and it's definitely paid off.
Yeah, you found a way to stand out, and very quickly you learned that baseball is a business because you got drafted in 2018, like we said before. And
Hmm.
I've had conversations with a lot of guys in the big leagues, and this is something that I noticed as soon as I got to this level of covering baseball, because I was in the minors for a long time, was that one year you could be talking to one of your boys who plays on the Blue Jays, and then the next year the dude is on the Diamondbacks, and you're like, wow, this is like
Yeah,
weird, like seeing you in a different uniform. And I'll never forget Stephen Vogt, catcher in the big leagues. He told me, he was like,
of course.
baseball is a kid's game for 4 hours of the day, and the other 20 hours, it's a business. And that's a guy who traveled a lot
Yes, yes.
in minor league baseball and obviously the big leagues too. But I'll never forget when he told me that. And just over the years, I just noticed how so many people go from team to team. But you got an early introduction to that because in 2018, soon after the Reds had drafted you, you end up getting traded to the Dodgers. And one of the guys who you got traded for was Alex Wood, who I'm pretty sure he was the first guy or like your first strikeout in the big leagues, right?
He was my first pitch and first out. Yeah. Hmm.
That is nuts.
Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
That's cool too, because you're like, wow, like I'm wanted by another team. I'm sure it was a shock though for you, because dude, you get drafted and you probably thought you're gonna be Red for life, or at least for your big
Yeah.
league debut, right?
Yeah. Getting drafted by them. I kind of envisioned me and Hunter Green, and Jonathan India, just manning down that team, and kind of just giving us young, exciting talent to look forward to, you know, um, a couple of years after we reached drafted. And, you know, like Vogt said, the business part kind of takes over sometimes, but obviously you still try to enjoy it. But yeah, that trade definitely came out of nowhere, because you're not so keen to the business side of it just yet. You're especially coming from college, you just go out, you play, you go to school, things like that. But then, when you're thrust into it, you're like, wow, this is a business, and you know, you're an asset, and you're going to be treated as one, but obviously treated as a person as well. And if the team sees they can benefit elsewhere by, giving up assets to allocate elsewhere, they're going to make those moves. And, I saw that 6 months into my pro career, and definitely not a stranger to it.
One of my buddies, Josh Hader, when he was in the minor leagues, I think he was traded like a few times or something like that. I remember thinking about it because I was like, on one hand, it's pretty cool, because one door opens another. Then at the other hand, it's kind of like, all right, well, why does, if you look at it this way, why does like nobody want to keep me?
Yeah.
It's tough in that sense. But then also at the same time, it's just like everything happens for a reason. That was just even more part of your story. More adversity. Bring it on, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I think getting traded to the Dodgers was incredibly beneficial for my career. Not shunning anything that Cincinnati had, but I think getting traded over there to the Dodgers really helped me find out what kind of pitcher I am, things like that. And, being around a staff that was, top to bottom, all for you. And, my 2 years there definitely shaped me into being a big leaguer and making me a big leaguer, obviously making my debut this year with them. So I have nothing but good things to say about them, along with the Reds, giving me my start in pro ball. I'm 29 other teams passed me up on that day. That's you as well. So yeah, I have nothing but respect for both of those organizations, and kind of just their unique uh, placement in my continuing story.
Yeah, and it's like something that you're just kind of used to, right? It's just like, yo, it doesn't matter where I'm gonna end up. I'm just gonna do me. One place where you ended up, which I know that you loved, you said that you made it, was when you showed up on Rob Friedman's Twitter page. He pitching ninja. He's been on the show before. He's a buddy of mine too. I gotta let him know that we're doing this. But yeah, that was
Yes.
like a cool kind of way to get even more coverage about you, but for you to stand out even more, because once you go up on Pitching Ninja, it seems like everybody knows who you are. So that happened in 2020. So it only took you what, like a season and a half, 2 years to get onto his page.
Yeah. I think the first time he ever posted me, we were having the summer camp, like the COVID reboot, and I just had come in after, throwing 4 pretty good innings, and I think I struck out Jock Peterson on a high fastball. And for some reason, they were streaming the game or something like that, and Friedman had cut the clip. I don't know what the caption was. I can probably go back and find it one day. But he
I
cut the
remember
clip.
yours. You said life is complete. I made Ninja.
Probably. Okay. All right. There you go.
I'm
But yeah,
halfway
he
there.
cut the clip. He cut the clip, and I remember going back into the clubhouse and checking my phone, and I quickly checked Twitter. And you know how when you check Twitter, you have like the notification button. It kind of just has the blue mark next to it. So I tapped that really quick, just seeing, whatever happened. And then I see just a bunch of likes, retweets, and yada, yada. I'm like, what's going on? So I click, obviously, and I see Pitching Ninja, and I say life is complete, because who doesn't want to be on Pitching Ninja? And
Right?
from that point on, I've been on pretty often. I think spring training, I was on there a few times. And then after my debut, obviously, footage was a lot more accessible for him to cut. And yeah, so hopefully be on there for years and years to come.
Do you still get that? This is awesome feeling when you do get that notification from Rob and you see that one of your pitches or
Oh
strikeout
yeah.
pitches up there?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a great feeling. That's what you want to be on Pitching Ninja.
Yeah, Twitter's a fun place. You never know what could happen. Just last night, which I'm already dating this recording by saying last night, got a notification from Jimmy Graham, and I don't even watch football that much, but I saw he had retweeted one of my tweets. I was like, that's pretty cool. So like, you never know what could happen on there. So like, guys, I'm telling you, you are going to be seeing Josiah Gray a bunch of times on Pitching Ninja right now. So definitely make sure you follow him on Twitter. And at the end of this, we'll shoot out your social media profile, so then that way everybody could follow your journey and stuff like that. Which one of the best parts about your journey is when you made your MLB debut and your first strikeout, Wilmer Flores. Take us back to that day, man.
Oh man,
And guys, this is nuts, by the way. I don't mean to cut you off already at the beginning,
No, you're good.
but we're talking 2018. And just fast forward to what, like less than 3 years later, you are
Yeah,
making your MLB debut. That is very hard to do. Like, I've covered a lot
very.
of baseball players and I've known a lot of baseball players over the time, and just 3 years, that is absolutely ridiculous. So at the
Yeah.
beginning of this, when I said you skyrocketed to this status, you really did. So I'm just pumping your tires over here. That's all I'm doing.
No, I appreciate it, man. I'll take it. Yeah, but also like saying about the debut happening so quickly, like I had zero game action. Sure, we were at the summer camp and alternate site doing stuff, but yeah, it's pretty cool to think about. But yeah, debut, freaking unbelievable. Just getting that call. Was in Oklahoma City. Just random Sunday and get a call. Hey, basically, you're going to LA, and I'm like, all right, well, shit, and enjoy the moment and fly in. But yeah, getting ready for that debut that afternoon before, they didn't really know what my role was going to be. They knew I was going to pitch, whether it be after an opener or start. And uh, around 5 or so, they told me, I'll come in after an opener. And, I obviously had jitters, but they weren't too bad. I was eating, doing everything. Everyone was wishing me luck as they saw me throughout the day, doing my routine, things like that. And basically, the game started. Uh, you're playing the Giants, so obviously really, really important series at the time. And I'm just in the bullpen, kind of just thinking through scenarios and just trying to stay focused, trying to stay just energized and everything like that because it's my major league debut. And the opener goes 2 innings, I believe. And then, I'm warming up and all the fans are like, good luck, like, go get them, things like that, like a lot of encouraging things. And, the final out happens and I'm doing my final pitch and there I am going to run out, in front of 50,000 people for my major league debut. And that was, I'm never going to forget that. Obviously there are some pitches I want back from it, but, just being able to go 4 innings, 7 strikeouts against a lineup like that, as an important series as there was at the time, that's all you ask for.
Dude, could it have gone any better though? Like, that's like with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, any team obviously would have been great, but dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was awesome thinking about it. Just the Giants were playing lights out. We were playing pretty well, and just to make my debut against them and do pretty well, was pretty awesome. Pretty damn awesome to say the least.
Hell yeah. Now, it wasn't until 2021 where you had family come see you play pro for the first time, which that was so awesome. So, and I've
Mhm.
heard you say before that, not if you had a choice, but like East Coast versus West Coast, you like the East Coast because then your
Yeah.
family could come there in the same time
Hmm.
zones. Did you have a lot of friends or family out there? And if so, could you see them in the crowd? Could you recognize them? Like, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so I had a fair share of people there. My family, my mom, my 2 brothers, my agent, a couple of my trainers, my best friend from home. So I think it totaled out to like 12 or so people. Um, but no, I couldn't see them. They were up wherever they sit the families. I just kind of blacked out and didn't even think to look up there. But I saw them after the game, and that was awesome. And everything was obviously last minute, because I got the call on Sunday and flew out that Sunday, and I was pitching on Tuesday. So it's kind of like, all right, he's getting called up. All right, now we got to find flights, hotels, things like that. And I'm sure that was all. It was all hectic, like thinking about that and getting that set up. But they all made it, and the debut was awesome.
I love seeing some of the videos from 2021 where you are over at City Field and it's right in your backyard. So you had a bunch of boys and a bunch of family members and stuff over there, and
Yeah.
they were just talking to you during the game. And you could see in one of the videos, you look back and you just see him and like you give like a little smile, like, dude, talk about a dream come true. And
Mhm.
I gotta mention that was as you're a member of the Washington Nationals. So here we are. Another trade happens. Was that call of the trade any different reaction and emotion wise from you than the first one back in 2018?
Honestly, I knew there were talks with Scherzer getting traded, um, but it didn't really resonate with me that I was gonna get dealt. More or less, we were playing against the Giants, and we were on the road, so I wasn't in the clubhouse or anything on my phone, so I didn't really know what was going on. But um, around the eighth or ninth inning, we heard, "Oh, Scherzer to the Padres is all but done." So I was like, "All right, well, you know, I'm I'm good to go. I'm gonna, start on Saturday against the Diamondbacks. I think it was going to be. I was going to start on Saturday in Arizona, just getting ready for that, And we gear up for the series. We get on the bus, we get on the plane, and then rumors start swirling again on Twitter. You know, um, rumor is Max Scherzer and Trey Turner are headed to the Dodgers, and we're like, everyone starts like kind of gets anxious more or less on the plane and things like that, especially some younger guys. And I'm like, all right, well, I haven't heard anything yet, so I don't know. But obviously, at that moment, all you can do is scroll and kind of just hope that you're not getting traded. But if you are, that you get a call before and things like that. And right before the plane took off, um, basically all of the reporters, Ken Rosenthal, Morosi, um, those guys, they were tweeting out my name, and I was like, well, if they know that, then it's probably baked into the cake. So I found out through Twitter first, unfortunately, because we were on the plane, so I don't think anyone could have called me. But yeah, that's how I found out, and I was shocked, obviously upset because Dodgers was like my second home, and I'd envisioned like I did with Cincinnati, a long career there, and me, Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, Kershaw Bueller, you name it, going out there every fifth day and shutting shit down. But it obviously didn't work out that way. But yeah, that was a shock. But at the end of the day, I think it's um, something that's going to help my career. And I'm nothing but grateful for, my time at the Dodgers and for the Nationals, to want me and to, you know, praise me to, you know, be one of the guys that comes back, and probably the greatest blockbuster trade deadline deal we've seen um, to this day.
Oh, dude, big time. And if I'm you, I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, holy shit. Obviously, we're still young enough to have seen Max Scherzer pitch throughout his career as a baseball fan. So, like, how great Max Scherzer is, how good Trey Turner is. So, just like, damn, like, all right, cool. All right, let's take this show
Yeah,
onto Washington and
on to DC.
yeah, right. So, did they drop you off out of the plane to DC? Like, how do you take a flight like that? While
Yeah.
all that news is going on, like, are you popping bottles? Like, what's going on?
No, I honestly didn't know what to do. It was a short flight anyway. Um, and I'm just on Twitter. I bought the Wi-Fi and everything, and I'm like, I need to be informed. And my agent texted me, kind of said, yeah, it's pretty much done. Obviously, they have to work through contracts and things like that with the no trade clauses. But they were like, yeah, it's pretty much done. So give me a call whenever you land. So I was like, all right. And the Dodgers front office people also said, just give us a call when you land. Obviously, you've seen it through Twitter. We wish that it didn't get out that way, but it's just the way it is. And the whole flight, I was just talking to my friends because I knew, I wouldn't see them for a while. So just kind of tried to enjoy, some of those last moments, and then had some goodbye hugs, things like that. But yeah, I got off the plane, got on the bus, checking my phone, things like that, and then we got to the hotel out in Arizona, and I started rattling off phone calls, just trying to find out more, and that uh, was it was hard because my girlfriend was also meeting me there, so she found out even
Oh man.
before. Yeah, she found out. She landed before us, so she was like, "Oh man, what's going on?" and things like that. But it was a whirlwind of a couple days, to say the least, going from the Dodgers to the Nats.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So your girlfriend is in Arizona at the time. You got off the team flight, and then you go on to the team bus, and then you have to leave to go join the Nationals. Yeah,
Hmm.
I can imagine the scrambling that you have to do for that. That's
Yeah,
that is peak baseball. Don't make plans, just surprise people because you never know what can happen.
yeah, it was a whirlwind to say the least. We so basically when we landed, they were like nothing's official because they're working through the contract. So we're like, okay, but the deadline was the next day at 12 or 1 or something like that. So the next day, we're waking up, checking our phone throughout the morning, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, nothing. We're like, what's going on? So around 12:30, we get a call. Hey, it's final. Say my final goodbyes to people with the Dodgers. The Nats reach out. And then we're like, all right, like, when do you guys want to fly out, basically? And I'm like, shoot, I got to probably pack up my apartment in AAA, Oklahoma City. So Saturday, I fly out to Oklahoma City, uh, pack up my apartment really quickly, spend like 2 hours, 3 hours sleeping there. And then Sunday, I fly to DC. And yeah, it was just, no, don't recommend, but it's part of the business.
Wow. All right. So then you eventually got your first MLB win, which congratulations against the Miami
Thank you.
Marlins. And like I said before, you got to play over at City Field, which is right in the backyard from New Rochelle. And a dude on the Mets who you're close with, he's the man, Marcus
Yeah,
Stroman.
he's awesome.
He's somebody who's taken a liking to you, and I've noticed on Twitter over the years just how much he's kind of just encouraged you with words and tweets and everything like that.
Of course.
You being 6'1", a starting pitcher and everything, and just how much heart that you bring out into the field every fifth day to start. What's your relationship like with him? How instrumental has he been for yourself, a young player who's also loco, who's also starting pitcher, who plays in the big leagues?
Yeah. Our stories are kind of similar, obviously two-way guys, New Yorkers, things like that. Um, but yeah, we kind of started connecting actually in 2020 spring training. I had like a Baseball America article, and basically I talked about, some of my favorite players, and I mentioned Stro, and they like mentioned him on Twitter, and he, shot me a reply tweet and kind of said, um, hit me up whenever, bro, or something like that. I don't remember the lines of what he said, but that was actually pretty cool because I was just in the weight room, and some of the guys on my team were like, "Yo, do you see Twitter?" I was like, "Nah, what happened?" And then they showed me, and I was like, "What?" And then yeah, we kind of connected ever since, like here and there. Obviously, both busy, but getting to face the Mets and meet him officially in person was pretty cool as well. I had just finished a rough outing against them, and he hit me up and was like, "Yo, let's chop it up for a second if you have a second." And I was like, "All right." And we talked about some mechanical things, some mentality things, and that was pretty cool because he didn't have to do that. He doesn't have to, he doesn't owe anything to anyone. But kind of just establishing that relationship was pretty cool. And at the end of the day, he's going to be a guy that I'm always cool with. We'll always chop it up, and we'll have good conversations you know from here on out.
Like you said, the mentality. I love his mentality. I think it's also I know a lot of people either hate it or love it.
Hmm.
Who are some of the other guys that you kind of hit it off pretty well with?
I wish I had some funny stories. Nothing is honestly coming to my mind right now. Um, but with the Reds, a lot of good people over there. Uh, Jonathan India, he's my first road roommate. So that was pretty cool. There's some people I keep in touch with still over there, just making sure people are good, how they're doing, things like that. With the Dodgers, my good friend Andre Jackson, he made his major league debut this year, and he crushed it in his 2 or 3 outings up there. Um, he's probably the closest friend I had over there. Alex Vesia, he went viral many, many times for being, just that intense lefty that was a force in that Dodgers bullpen. David Price, he's been great to me so far. We were throwing partners in spring training this year for a little bit until our groups got separated, but we kept up throughout 2020 throughout the pandemic, just checking in, seeing how things are going, um, things like that. And he even reached out to me sometimes during this year, just seeing how things are going, things like that. Um, Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May. These are guys, I spent most of 2020 with, after the COVID shutdown, going in and getting work in at a random park in Arizona. So we got closer there and a lot of good people over there. But then with the Nats as well, Joe Ross, awesome, Eric Fetty, Keibert Ruiz, Josh Rogers, to name a few, a lot of good guys in that clubhouse that I've enjoyed. Patrick Murphy, Juan Soto. I'm really excited, to get to know those guys even more and, kind of just build something with them. But, there's so many people that I've hit it off with throughout my short time in the big leagues. And, I'm really excited to, further those relationships as the years goes on.
So you named a lot of names. Which of those guys were you with, or is it a moment where you were by yourself where you had that holy shit, I'm in the show moment?
Oh man.
Like I was in college in 2018. I
Yep.
was 2014. I was at Derek Jeter's walk-off final game at Yankee Stadium, and now
Mhm.
it's 2020 and 2021. I'm in the show myself and just mowing
Yeah.
down batters. At what point did you have that moment? Was it a Wednesday morning where kids weren't screaming SpongeBob SquarePants songs?
No, no more kids games. But prior off seasons, I had visited Dodger Stadium. They'd send some guys out to LA, train for, 4 or 5 days. So I had done that before. So I'd been in the clubhouse, things like that, been on the field. So when I made my debut, it kind of wasn't that foreign to me, more or less. Obviously, there are people there now. Um, but I would say my like, oh shit, I'm in the big leagues moment um, was more or less with the Nats. Making my first outing with them against the Phillies, with being top prospect with the Dodgers, things like that, and then going over there and kind of just having unwavering support so early and having, fans saying good luck, things like that. That was kind of like a, oh shit, like, they have a lot of faith in me. Not that the Dodgers didn't, but, it's kind of like a, wow, I embraced that. And it was a good outing too. So that helps. But I would say that was probably my ocean moment. I'm in the bigs, like different clubhouse in my debut 2 weeks earlier. Here I am, new clubhouse, got to learn everybody's name again. And, here I am, they're slating me every 5 days to go out and pitch. And that was probably, that moment for me.
And how about for you on the like the branding, the baseball side of things, where you do have a lot of people reaching out to you on social media? Obviously, we've gone back and forth with DMs, and I've listened to some shows before where you had done something similar. I think it was D2 Nation, where it's just like, yo, you're great at being available, and you're great at
Mhm.
staying active on social media, which is huge for, I think, just for the
Yeah.
sport in general, just to grow. And you've worked with a couple different companies, as we were talking before about Roan. I think this is not a plug.
Mhm.
They're paid advertisement. I got a Roan shirt on right now. But how much do you enjoy that aspect of being a big leaguer?
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, it's something I want to focus on for the future just because, you want to, along with your on field sort of brand and I guess image, you also want to build it off the field image and things like that. So, I have some things in the works, that should excite some fans, memorabilia wise, potentially, maybe merchandise wise, potentially. We'll see. But yeah, I think that stuff is pretty exciting, and it definitely is important to being an athlete just because of how much you're in the public eye. So I always try to come on podcasts, things like that, and kind of just share my story, different avenues of people, different viewerships, and just spread the image. So 2 years, 3 years down the road, people are like, oh, that's a familiar name. Kids will dress up as me for a Halloween costume. Kind of joking, but that'll also be pretty cool. Like simple things like that. So yeah, I just want to continue to get my face out there, things like that, and make sure people know that I'm going to be a relevant name for years to come.
Yeah, Halloween costumes. I'll have to get Miles a Josiah Gray jersey next time instead of Jock Peterson one, so that next year we'll switch it up a little bit. Poor kid.
Nah,
But
you have to go with what's relevant, what's popping. He's doing it. He's doing it with the pearls and
when we talk about that with making waves and great impressions, what would be your dream partnership? Do you want to be like the next Marshawn Lynch with Skittles, you know?
well, just for like guilty pleasure, because it's like the one thing I always spend money on is Chipotle.
Oh,
Um,
dude, yeah.
that's probably like the dream. Like, man, I want Chipotle. But then, like from a equity like investment standpoint, a company like Sony or uh, Sony San Diego, they make MLB The Show, which is like my favorite video game. Um, it'd be fun to have some stake in that company, and uh, that money, being as long as it gets, because they're never going away. But yeah, those are kind of like the two I definitely want to have in the portfolio from basically forever. Sony and Chipotle, because Chipotle I eat. That's mainly the only thing I spend money on when I'm eating, and Sony because that's what I spend a lot of time doing when I'm not playing baseball or things like that.
See, this is great. We're setting goals right now. This is awesome. I hope everybody at home is
we
doing the
are,
same too, or getting
we
fired up.
are.
I think Chipotle is definitely, I think, doable. I'm not saying they're both
Mhm.
not. I think they both are. But Chipotle, I mean, dude, you
Oh
could
yeah.
probably throw them 10 tweets and you'll be money. What's the largest single purchase that you've made at Chipotle?
Man, honestly, I go for the chicken a lot just because I stayed in my roots in my college days when, that was the only thing. I was like, all right, I can get chicken for $7 and, I'm set. So I don't try to get the steak or, this new brisket that they got now. I just stick to the chicken. My orders, maybe I'll get guac. My orders, will be $10, $12, depending on like if I get chips or something. But I don't try to buy the whole menu. That's not my thing for that.
All right, we'll link up and I'm going to show you how I order sometimes. You might
All
think
right.
I'm an absolute psycho, but I promise you it'll give you a good laugh and you'll definitely be full, probably get the itis and be passed out for
Oh
like
yeah,
3 days after. But there,
yeah.
there's usually Starbucks next door. We can just go fill up on caffeine right after to prevent
There you go.
it.
You'll get the full show. You get the full stomach, and you go home happy. So that's all you want.
Yeah. All right, so to wrap things up, you just play with so much heart. And if there's anything that the listener, the viewer has learned today, is just about how great of character that you have. And one thing that I do want to mention is that I did read, and you said every fifth day that you pitch, you go out and you give it your all,
Oh, yeah.
110%. And no matter what, your father is with you.
Yes.
I'm sure you hear this a lot, but I'm sure he's has the biggest smile every single fifth day and every day that you go out there and that you perform, win or loss, just because he knows that his son is living his dream, beat the odds, and is just having an incredible career. So I just want to let you know that that's something that
Absolutely.
I want to make note of.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely a big inspiration because of the times you remember in the backyard, like I talked about earlier in the podcast. Fielding ground balls, throwing, hitting, things like that. You remember those times, and then to make it at the pinnacle of the game. Be at the top of the top and say you did it. It's you obviously reflect on those times and think about how you got there, who you got there with, things like that. So yeah, it's definitely a constant reminder, more or less, being, a big leaguer and fulfilling my goal, because, that was all I wanted to do as a kid. And then, thinking about the influence that he provided throughout, the youth years and college and high school, things like that, that's stuff is definitely a, uh, I guess, influence. Yeah, it's a major influence that keeps you going throughout the days. And when things are good, when things are bad, when things are okay, things like that. It keeps you going at the end of the day.
Well, I'll tell you what, him and your mom definitely raised you very well, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of Josiah Gray jerseys out there, whether the Nationals or maybe even some throwback ones. But he definitely did a great job
Yeah,
raising you, and it shows, and he's living through you right now. So it's just
absolutely.
remarkable, and dude, your story, just the inspiration again, the motivation just behind you, and what you're doing for so many listeners and viewers right now listening to this show right now.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing, man. So I want to thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
And before we go, obviously there's going to be the bonus content, so everybody stay tuned for that. But I want everybody to be able to experience some of the fun stuff and emotions that you go through and that I see through some of your posts and everything, and just be able to follow along your journey, because this is just the beginning, and it's just remarkable what you've been
Absolutely.
able to accomplish so far. So shoot out your social media platforms, so then that way everybody could give you a follow.
Absolutely. So Instagram and Twitter. Instagram is going to be Jojo JOJO underscore Gray 21. It'll be me, in a white Nationals uniform. I have some exciting posts that I'm working on right now, to recap the year even further, kind of just throw some fun stuff out there, kind of keep fans engaged and things like that. So make sure to shoot me a follow and stay tuned for that. But then also Twitter is going to be capital J, capital G, RA, 2 Y's, J Gray, 2 Y's underscore on Twitter. I don't tweet as much as I should. So that's probably a reminder to myself to start tweeting more. But I try to engage with fans as much as I can. Sometimes, I'm just laying around. I'll reply to some tweets, but make sure to give those both a follow. Going to be engaging with fans throughout the off season, not so much in season, but throughout the off season, kind of just keeping them updated with what I'm doing, workouts, throwing, things like that, travels, and stay tuned. So appreciate all the follows and appreciate you having me on for sure.
Dude, you heard the man, Jojo. Thank you so much for joining us, John. Keep swinging, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you.